Hey everyone, it's Chip here. Welcome. Today we're talking about Paul and James, faith and works. This goes right back to Martin Luther, right back to the Reformation, and I think it's still something that's widely misunderstood. So let's dive right in and see what we can learn here. Right here we have Romans 4, and Paul says, I've highlighted the key verse, for if Abraham was justified by works, he has something to boast about, but not before God. Now, on this side, we have James 2, and the highlight verse 21. Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered Isaac his son on the altar? Okay, so Paul and James are both talking about Abraham, talking about how he was justified. Paul says, it wasn't by works, or else he would have something to boast about. And over here, James says, don't you see that Abraham was justified by works? And this has been just a huge issue, and something that Luther, he couldn't reconcile these two versus these two views. And so I'm trying to keep this short, but I'll do my best, and hopefully we can see how they go together in the end. So right here with Paul, his whole point, if you scroll down here, his whole point is he's talking about works. He's talking about circumcision. Okay. So his point is that Abraham was justified before he was circumcised, before any works of the law were demanded of him or asked of him. That's his whole point. That's Paul. He's writing to the church in Rome. Now, when Paul wrote the letter to the Romans, he had not been there yet. But what had happened in Rome was that the predominantly Jewish church, all of the Jews in Rome were exiled, were kicked out. And so there was only Gentile believers there. Then under Nero, the Jews returned to Rome. And now you have this church where the Gentiles are kind of running things, and the Jews are coming back, and the Jews are thinking, we're the ones that need to be running the show. Basically, there's a lot of tension there. And Paul's whole point in Romans is saying Jews and Gentiles are saved the exact same way by faith, apart from works of the law. That's his whole point. And so that's when he starts in Romans 1. He's saying, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. It's the power of God unto salvation for everyone that believes, for the Jew first and also for the Greek. That sets up everything that's following. That's the setup. So he's talking about how the gospel, belief in the gospel, that's the way of salvation. It doesn't matter if you're Jew or Greek. It doesn't matter if you are circumcised or not. Okay. And really what he's trying to achieve is the Jew and the Gentile having a view of one another as on the same level before God, not having a Jewish kind of elite view of themselves. And he also says to the Gentiles, don't get prideful. Don't be presumptuous because of your position, because you can be cut off too, just like the Jews were that did not continue in belief. So anyway, that's the whole thing with Paul. Now, what's James talking about? He's just saying that your faith isn't complete until you act on it. And so because he uses the word works, then we think that it's the exact same idea as what Paul's talking about. Paul's talking about circumcision and works of the law. James is talking about Abraham had faith, and so he acted. Okay. And that really, hopefully that helps to clarify things. And we actually need both. We need Paul and James. We need Paul to remind us that we can't do anything to earn our justification, to earn righteousness. We can't do anything. There's no amount of working that we can do to earn that. But at the same time, we need James to come and tell us your faith needs to act. Your faith can't be just an internal thing that has no bearing on how you live. It needs to come to fruition, come to completion. And this verse really ties it all together. In Hebrews 11, right here, it says, by faith, Abraham obeyed. And that's it. So there's faith, there's obedience. How did Abraham obey? He obeyed by faith. And that's the picture that we need to grasp, is that faith and the works of faith, not the works of the law, go together and are part of the same thing. Acting is part of faith. Appropriate actions, obedience. This is an important part of faith. And we need that as Christians. We need that in our walk. We need to have that aspect of faith for our faith to be complete. And once we understand this, we need to reread the Gospels, reread through the New Testament, and we need to understand, because once you get this, things start to fall into place, everything starts to click, and you get a totally new perspective. And we don't have to explain away so many things. We can take things at face value. One of the things that happens when we take Martin Luther's view, we start to disregard a lot of verses. We start to disregard a lot of Jesus's teaching, and uh, and our understanding of God, of the Bible, of salvation, everything suffers because of that. And if I have time, I can make some videos on Luther and all of that later. But I just wanted to put this out there and give you a new perspective. Go back to the Word, go back to the Gospels, look at this and see that this is exactly the case. Remember that Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. He said, if you abide in my words, you're my disciples indeed. His whole Sermon on the Mount, he ends with, build on the rock. The rock is his teachings. And if you don't build on the rock, you're going to be, whatever you've built up is going to be on the sand. It's going to be destroyed. So this is a really important word. Take it to heart. Go back to your Bible, and you'll start to see it a whole new way. So I hope that this has helped you, and stay tuned for more. Check the description for some links and some other things to help you along. And I will see you back here soon. Thanks so much.